we'll be discussing about cavity principles of composite for composite restorations. During our dental school, especially when I was studying, I remember being taught through second year till the fourth year about how to design cavities for amalgam. But when I entered private practice, I understood that I was barely doing amalgam. All I was ever touching was composites, and we were all kind of telling our patients that we're doing white restorations or restorations that fillings that match their teeth. Some people even go ahead and call them like laser fillings. But all said and done, do we really know how to handle these laser fillings or composites? Because as a lot of people have started taking interest in restorative dentistry, and as we are becoming more and more conservative by the day, it's important that we follow some basic principles and we basically understand what are the basics of this material that we are dealing with. So now let's just first quickly discuss about what we talk about when we talk of amalgam. When we discuss amalgam fillings or cavity design for amalgam restorations, we talk about flat pulpal floors. We also talk about line angles. We talk about undercuts to basically lock in the entire material so that there is resistance to dislodgement. But do we talk about these things? Do we really need a flat pulpal floor? Do we really need undercuts to retain a composite restoration in our tooth or not? Because slowly and gradually we are all moving towards composites without really changing our burr work. The work that we are doing with burr is essentially staying the same. I see a lot of people cutting out class 1 cavities just like they would cut for amalgam. There is no change. So how can we really say that amalgam is more aggressive on the tooth structure versus composite? The entire idea behind using these restorative materials is to remove just the part of the tooth that is decayed or affected. We are not supposed to extend our cavity design to create a design. We are essentially just supposed to remove the decay and treat the dental tissues, that is enamel and dentin, like they are present. We don't need a flat pulpal floor. We don't need those dovetails. We don't need any retentive undercuts to retain the composite, because the major difference between the way amalgam exists and composite exists in the tooth is that amalgam needs mechanical retention to stay in the tooth, whereas composite is based on adhesion. Now we talk about adhesion too much. This term is overused, but have you ever thought that what exactly is adhesion? So there are two physical principles among materials. So when there is an attraction between like molecules, it's called cohesion, and when there is an attraction between dissimilar molecules, it's called adhesion. So two fragments of composite would be cohesion, and composite attraction to dentin would be adhesion. So first and foremost, we need to understand that the relationship of composite to enamel is far superior versus the relationship of composite to dentin. The reason being, composite retains really well in an inorganic substrate, which is enamel. So a large, above 90%, above in fact 95% of enamel is hydroxyapatite, which is essentially inorganic. It's not alive, it's not organic. And when we talk about dentin, there is dentinal fluid, there is collagen tubules, and there is a lot more live or living material in dentin versus enamel. So the bond strength of composite to enamel would be far superior versus the bond strength between composite and dentin. So therefore you must have not heard of enamel bonding agents. You must have heard of dentin bonding agents, because most of the times in bonding to enamel can be achieved by simply an application of unfilled resin as well. Going ahead, we need to understand that how can we really retain our composite restoration. So first things first, the step one for a composite restoration is etching. So what does etching really do? Etching is supposed to create this micro roughness on the surface of the tooth, which is going to lock in the composite material. So is it actually chemical bonding? The answer is no. The composite is attaching to the tooth substrate by micromechanical retention, which is achieved by etching the enamel and etching the dentin. Now, since we spoke about etching, you need to understand that any inorganic substrate takes, so etchant is 37% phosphoric acid. Now when we are etching enamel, we are placing acid on inorganic substrate, and when we are etching dentin, you are placing acid over an organic substrate. So do you think the behavior of dentin to an acid attack of etching will be the same as the behavior of enamel to acid attack? The answer is no. So therefore, total etch techniques, wherein we simply squeeze in phosphoric acid from our syringe into the cavity, is kind of going away slowly, and now we are talking more about selective etching. So dentin, since it's organic, needs less etching time, whereas enamel can be etched for up to 30 seconds comfortably, because there is nothing that we are degenerating in enamel, but in dentin we can create a collapse of the collagen tubules, which will interfere with the bond strength if we etch it for too long or if we dehydrate it. So first way that we are trying to lock in composite into the tooth structure to prevent its dislodgement is by etching of the enamel and dentin. And we are going to use a selective etch technique where the duration of etching of dentin will be somewhere between 3 to 7 seconds, and the duration of enamel etching would be somewhere between 15 to 20 seconds up to 30 seconds. Now, second thing, we are creating these tags of composite by creating roughness through the enamel. Now these tags of resin or tags of composite material are going to interlock in the tooth substrate and resist the dislodgement of the filling. Now this again, if you imagine it histologically, or if you consider the microstructure of enamel is made of rods and dentin is essentially made of tubules. So we are trying to penetrate this composite resin into the tubules, and we are trying to penetrate resin into the enamel rods so that the retention and resistance of the restoration can occur. Now, how to manage the retention and resistance forms for composite in different areas of the tooth? So if you remember how rod structure looks like, you must remember that the enamel rods tend to fan out from cervical to the occlusal, and then they are oriented outwards with the narrower end towards the dentin and the wider end towards the occlusal surface. So when you are treating a class 2 decay, say a class 2 decay, so you need to understand that the cavo-surface margin needs to be beveled in case of composite restorations. This is to incorporate more resin penetration at the cavo-surface margin. Again, beveling is a great way to adapt the material over the tooth, and it creates it creates a resistance form for the restoration. Also, you have to understand two of the most important things while bonding your composite restorations is the kind of bonding that you are doing. So the holy grail for composite restoration, the cavity design actually is not what we do with the burr. It's actually what we are doing when we are treating the tooth with acid etching, and what we are doing with the tooth while dentin bonding. Now, Dentin bonding agents create this adhesive layer on top of dentin, which is going to create a bond strength which is going to resist the dislodgement. Now, when we do not isolate, we are dealing with hydrophobic materials, and the bond strength can decrease by the lack of isolation. So rubber dam isolation is kind of really essential if you're trying to create a good bond strength which is superior to the polymerization stresses that the composite is going to create in the long run. So there is a continuous war between the bond strength, so the strength of the bonding agent between the composite and the dentin, and the composite polymerization shrinkage. So the composite has a property of shrinking as a mass together. So there is a continuous war. Whichever wins is going to win the battle. If polymerization stresses win, we are going to have micro leakage, secondary decay, and marginal gaps at the restoration. Whereas if our bonding is very well done by following the entire isolation protocol, we will be able to make our restorations last for a really long time. The second most important thing after bonding would be C factor consideration. So we need to take care of how we are dealing with C factor, but one of the major things that you need to keep in mind is incremental buildup, because composite, like I told you, has a tendency to shrink away from the walls. So if we try to bulk fill when it's not a bulk fill material, if we try to bulk fill, the tendency would be shrinking towards the center, and there will be gaps. So C factor is basically the ratio of bonded to unbonded surfaces, but not going into too much detail. You need to understand that we are essentially trying to build the composite layer by layer so that the shrinking can be kept to maximum, shrinking can be kept to minimum. Once you cure a single increment within the cavity, it has already cured and polymerized, so the shrinking is kind of limited. But when we cure all of it together, it's going to shrink all at once and the mass is going to contract. So if you do small increments layer by layer, you have already compensated for the shrinkage in that particular increment before placing your next increment. So by layering up your composite restorations, we are trying to keep the C factor considerations in mind. There are a lot more things that we need to keep in mind, but the major 4 things that I want you to keep in mind is etching, which is selective etching, then isolation and isolation for bonding, then beveling of your restorations, so beveling of the margins so that our margins are seamless, there is seamless transition, there is no that gray line that comes that shows us the jump in the restoration and the tooth. So first is etching, proper etching protocol. Second is proper bonding protocol including isolation, beveling of the restoration, and keeping in mind the C factor considerations. For any more queries, you should hit me up. We had this small session today. I hope we can discuss some more things in detail in our next Instagram live. Let me know how you found today's session so that we can come up with more interesting ideas and more informative things. Till then, bye for today.